Hello, my name is Lucianna Silvestri, and today we are going to do a full body yin yoga class. So I invite us to either sit or lay down, whatever is best for you, and then we'll close the eyes. You might wiggle around a little bit just to settle in. Whether you choose to close the eyes all the way or soften the gaze, do what's best for you. And we're going to take a couple moments to arrive. And so begin to notice the flow of your breath. Notice the fullness of your inhales, and maybe even feel the sweetness of your exhales. Right now, if you notice any clenching or gripping, can you let those areas in the body relax and soften? And so today in our yin practice, as we're lengthening and elongating and creating space in the body, we'll also have more of a meditative sub-theme that you might return to or think about while you're in each of these postures. And there's a little bit of a quote or a poem, and so we'll explore it together. Use your voice for kindness. Use your ears for compassion. Use your hands for charity. Use your mind for truth. And use your heart for love. Maybe just take a couple breaths, let that sit with you and resonate. As we explore this practice of stillness, how can you use your voice for kindness while in the postures? As you practice tuning in and listening to the body, using your ears for compassion as your body guides you, and while we're on the mat, think about how you're using your hands for charity or really just the support. Letting our minds relax, release so that we can find our own inner truths. And of course, using our heart space to share love and attention to ourselves. Of course, you're welcome to apply this in any other way, honoring any other intentions that you might have brought with you. And then when you're ready, let's take a couple cleansing breaths together. We'll breathe in through the nose and open the lips to breathe out. Again, like that, full inhale. And open the lips to exhale. Take a moment, return to your natural breath. And for this third time, hands can stay relaxed, or you might gather them into prayer. Whether you choose to take another cleansing breath or join me for the vibrational sound of Om, do what's best for you. But together we'll breathe in. Take a moment to bow your chin to your chest. And just let the breath and the subtle vibrations reverberate off the walls of the inner body, allowing them to seal your intentions for practice. And then when you're ready, we'll slowly open the eyes. We'll bring the hands away, welcoming ourselves here. If you want to find any little movements for the shoulders, for the head, for the neck, whatever feels good. We take a lot of creative liberties in yin, so always doing what's best for you. But I'm going to show us the first posture, which is going to be reclined mermaid. Okay, this is something that I do a lot at home. You may find familiarity within the poses near a wall, but we're actually going to do this one on the floor. So you're going to let yourself lay on your left side or however you want to get there. Your left arm is going to open out vertical here, allowing your head or your ear to rest on your bicep. And so right now, just your knees are hugging high into the chest. Okay, you might stay like this, or maybe you bring your head down. This is going to begin to deepen the posture. Whether you keep your left arm lengthened or you bend at your elbow, bring your hand behind you, your choice. And then finally, some extra little things you might bind behind the back, right? Or keep your arm here. Okay, so feel free to come into it. Take your time. You can roll to your belly and then go into the shoulder that way, or just come to sit on your left hip and walk yourself down slowly. Take your time, no rush. But we'll allow the left arm to extend out. Feel free to face in any direction. Okay. So same thing, allowing your bicep to rest on the ear. If that's not giving you enough stretch, then you can lower the head to the floor. If your inner knees, inner hips need some support, take a blanket or pillow and you can prop. And then what does your right arm want to do? Keep it in front of you, top of the hip, bind behind the back. You can play around with a couple little things. And then when you're ready, let's close the eyes and we'll come into stillness. Beginning to arrive into the posture. There's no right or wrong way to settle into the stretch. And so always doing what's best for you. Now that you've adapted for a few moments, you might choose to soften, beginning to let go of any clenching or gripping. Beginning to soften into the different layers of the body. And checking in with the breath, still allowing the breath to flow through. And maybe here feeling a slightly different stretch, different sensation than when you first entered into the pose. And allowing yourself to take another couple moments of breath. And then when you're ready, if your left elbow is bending in, we're going to slowly lengthen it out. If your back arm is binding, unravel that right arm. Take your time, no rush. You'll begin to lengthen your legs there. And as you do that, you'll slowly roll onto the belly. No rush, take your time. As you roll onto the belly, adjust your arms, go slow. You're welcome to bend into the knees, kick up the feet, and maybe you windshield wiper the legs side to side. Always doing what's best for you, no right or wrong. And if this is where is best for your body to stay, you stay. Some people might come up for low cobra, high cobra, rest in child's pose, whatever is best for you. But we're going to take a pause to rebound. And just allowing all the tissues to contract back. Letting the body soften just as we did in the shape. But here we get to notice those subtle sensations. Using your voice for kindness, your ears for compassion. Now, in the event you'd like to stay here, by all means, stay in rebound. But if you're choosing to take reclined mermaid on the right side, we're going to let ourselves come to the right hip. Take your time, no rush. Sometimes awakening from rebound, you're going to want little movements, stretches, reaches, whatever feels good. But as we rest on that right side, your right arm reaches up and out, so I'll mirror you there. Maybe again, as you hug the knees into the chest, you take that blanket or pillow to support the inner legs. Right arm reaches out, and so your bicep is resting, or your ear's resting on your bicep. But if you'd like to go deeper, just lower your head down to the floor. Opposite arm can stay in front of you or bind behind the back. And always for the first couple moments, you might adjust and wiggle a little bit. And then when you close your eyes or soften the gaze, you'll begin to settle and arrive. You'll begin to feel the sensations, the fascial tissue lengthening and elongating. Not applying a lot of force. And just easing the body into the stretch, moment by moment, breath by breath. As you use your ears for compassion, allowing the body to guide you. Whether that means you stay where you are or you readjust, less stretch, more stretch. Just listening in closely. And sometimes we might be relaxing the muscles, but we might tend to clench the breath or hold the breath in. So just be mindful, check in on the breath once in a while, make sure it's still flowing and moving. But we're going to hang out in reclined mermaid for a few more moments together. Maybe taking one more breath, and then we're going to start to slowly release from the posture. So if your right elbow is bending, you might lengthen the arm out first and see what that feels like. If your opposite arm is binding behind the back, you're going to slowly unravel. And you just take your time. Your legs will lengthen and go long until you're ready to roll out of the shoulder and onto the belly. No rush. We move gradually. Once you get to the belly, or maybe you're on your back, whatever it is, do you want to windshield wiper the legs? Will that feel good? If not, skip it. Maybe you still find another little extension to the spine, lifting through the heart, reaching back for child's pose. Or you remain on the belly. And just seeing where your body takes you, but we then settle into rebound. The moment to allow us to feel that imprint of the stretch and the pose. It makes its way all the way into the memory of the nervous system. And you'll take that meditative moment, reflect. The stretch and the changes of the fascia all the way down to the cellular level are still happening here. And so if you'd like to stay in rebound a little longer, please do so. Or we're going to let ourselves find some counter movement. Maybe now you take child's pose or down dog or roll on your back, right? I'm going to offer different suggestions, but it's really always doing what's best for you. Face any direction in the room, face any angle along the floor. Again, we're taking creative liberties here to really be guided. And you'll continue to move at your own pace, but just know that we will eventually roll onto our backs. We just did reclined mermaid and then the rebound. So now we're going to come into 2 stretches, back to back, and then the rebound. All right, so once we come to lay, we're going to allow our knees to bend here. You'll adjust your back. Coming into dove, allow this left hip to open out to the side. All right, you might keep your foot relaxed like that, or you'll start to walk it behind your right ankle. Right, so that's going to change a little bit the direction of the knee, but you can do what's best for you. You might prop your outer thigh, you might prop the back of the head. So it kind of just depends on what you might need, but you never need to force the hip down, right? So just be mindful there. All right, so we're going to start in dove. I'll talk about the second stretch when we come out of it, but just know we're going to be taking 2 stretches. So left knee, left hip opens out to the side. As you do that, your left foot might land perfectly where you need it for your stretch, or just know later on if you want to walk it underneath your right ankle. From there, hands can rest in any direction. You might feel a little lift of the pelvis here. It's natural. But if you need something underneath a hip, the back, whatever it might be, feel free to prop. And once you're ready, you'll find stillness. Closing the eyes or softening the gaze. And then letting yourself arrive. Whether you're feeling this a little bit more in the inner hip, thigh, glute, those same tissues connect to your back and your diaphragm, so sometimes we'll feel stretches a little higher along the body. But wherever you're holding that unnecessary tension, that's where we'll begin to feel that stretch first. If you haven't softened into the posture, begin to do so now. Releasing through the jaw and the tongue, relaxing through the shoulders and the belly. Allowing ourselves to find comfort within discomfort. Rather than sending stress signals to the nervous system, which then sends those signals to the organs, which then creates our thought and feelings at least one way. What we're doing here is that we're changing pattern. We're redirecting the conversation. in the pose, if you realize that you can't relax, your breath won't flow, and you're clenching the entire time, that's a good sign to know that you're sending those stress signals. But if you can soften and if you can breathe, we're telling and communicating a different story to the body, and that story gets passed to the nervous system. Calmness, balance, cultivate healing and restoration in the body instead. So a couple more breaths in dove. Now, whatever knee is reaching out, it may or may not be your left knee, and that's fine. But we're going to start to let our arms reach down towards that left or right knee, and we're going to hug it into the chest. Take your time. As you do hug this knee into the chest, right, though we're not going to rebound, you might hug the right knee in as well. Just kind of rock side to side for a moment. We're not rushing. And then when you're ready, we're actually going to twist to the opposite side. So if your left leg was in dove, please twist to the right. If your right knee was in dove, please twist to the left. So we're now allowing ourselves to settle into supine. But we're going to have a couple options here, right? So maybe supine, though, as you twist, is really the best stretch for you. By all means, go for it. But you might make a little pinwheel action here. Keep that top knee higher into the chest, drop or slide the other knee down. And you can always deepen or change the dynamic of your stretch. That bottom knee can stay bent, or maybe you start to straighten that leg. And propping the back of the head is great. Propping that top knee is also great if your body needs some support there. And then let your chin face in any direction. Whatever's comfortable for your neck, your throat, your jaw. Once you feel pretty settled, you can close your eyes, soften the gaze, and then you'll begin to arrive. Maybe feeling the subtle sensations from dove intertwine with the stretch in your twist. Begin to soften into the body. Letting go of any clenching, any gripping that signals to the body that we can open through the tissues, lengthen through these layers, calmly and slowly, gradually. And practice using your voice for kindness while in the stillness. Letting the stretch, letting the stillness be an opportunity to invite your voice, to invite that kindness. Couple more breaths here. If your body feels like it's had enough, please release sooner, or you can stay for a couple more breaths. And then whenever you're ready, slowly you'll begin to awaken. Take your time, right? Even notice how we're not even fully moving yet, even though I'm saying you can release whenever you're ready. That's how slow you should go. So as your mind starts to awaken, right, you're hearing more and more of my voice. You begin to awaken the body, slowly move an arm, slowly move a leg, and take yourself out of the twist mindfully. Now that we did both poses, maybe you find some counter movement. Maybe you just directly go into that rebound pause. On your back, on your belly, sitting, many different options. But we allow all of the tissues to contract back. The pose is that catalyst to bring us here in the rebound, in this moment to resonate. Each rebound is like a mini shavasana. We become more and more grounded, more and more connected. And so if you choose to stay like this a little longer, more than welcome to. Sometimes when we awaken from rebound, now it feels good to find counter movement, maybe a little windshield wiper of the legs, maybe a little stretch or reach of the arms. But again, just different suggestions, no right or wrong. Sometimes nothing. All right, but just so you know, we are going to go into the other side of dove. So you might need to adjust your props again. Knees are going to bend, feet flat to the floor. Opposite knee and hip is going to open out to the side. I like to start on the left, but again, if you did the right, now do the left. No big deal. Whether that edge of the foot lands exactly where it needs for your stretch, great. Or walk that ankle behind the opposite one, changing the dynamic a little bit. Arms will rest wherever you need. Adjusting, changing props. Sometimes props support the stretch, Sometimes they might deepen the stretch. But take your time, and then when you're ready, close the eyes, soften the gaze, and begin to settle in. And checking in with your breath. Begin softening when you feel ready to. That softening is the signal communicating directly to the nervous system, what we're asking of the body. And those knots of tension we feel, also called fascial adhesions, right? But these adhesions that we feel aren't something just flat 2D. It is multidimensional. And so as we're lengthening, the tissues do expand. We get to reclaim the body's space so that we can move better or breathe fuller. And again, rather than that inflammation sending stress signals to the body, we send signals of calmness, restoration, peace, and balance. Couple more breaths in dove. And whenever you're ready, maybe take one more breath. But we'll waken the arms just enough so that we can reach them down towards that knee. And as you unravel that foot, you can gently hug the knee into the chest. All right, but you'll feel a shift within your breath. Maybe both knees hug in, rock a little bit on your tailbone. Move through the arms, move through the feet. And we take our time with this, one, for the benefit of the tissues, because we are asking them to extend, so for precaution and to be kind. And it's also good for the nervous system to continuously stay calm and centered. And so from this, we're going to twist, right? Supine. If your right knee was in dove, You're going to now twist to the left so that that right leg is on top. Right. But if you've already twisted to the left, then you need to go the other side. So no right or wrong here. We're all doing the same stuff. It's okay to be in different directions. Remember your twist options. You're in supine, maybe more of a pinwheel with that top leg a little bit higher up, bottom leg long, slightly bent, straight. It all depends on how your low back feels, your IT band, and potentially even the shoulders. Let your arms be close to you. Maybe they need to extend out, stretch up. Again, these are all suggestions, and as you allow the body to guide you, you might even find your own variations. Maybe take a cleansing breath. Let your awareness dance around the body, relaxing into the different muscles, bones, organs. Allowing your body to feel held and cradled. We'll be in our twist for a couple more breaths. Unless you choose to release sooner, we'll meet you in rebound. And then on your next breath, And just begin to sense where your body is in space. When you're ready, you can begin to awaken through the arms and the legs so that you can begin unraveling from the twist. Take your time. Moving your body slowly, gradually, no rush. Your body might feel just that energetic guidance to stay, flow into rebound. Maybe you come for some counter movements, arms, legs, spine, whatever feels good. But you'll pause when you're ready. The stretch, the sensations isn't over just because we're done with the one shape. It all echoes and flourishes throughout the entire body during this moment of resonance. In this moment to bask within your awareness the same way we would the sun. In this moment to reset and recalibrate the nervous system. Take another breath or two. And if you want to stay in rebound a little longer, you can stay. Do know if the body would like some counter movement, you might find that first as you awaken. Maybe bringing the knees into the chest, rocking side to side. Maybe the arms wrap around the chest, you give your upper body a little hug. It could just be as simple as wiggling the fingers and toes. It could be as simple as yawning or whatever it is that comes to mind. From here, though, we're going to allow ourselves to now meet on the belly. So if there is any other counter movements, to gradually bring yourself up to sit, or maybe you just roll to the belly, depending on how your body feels. So no right or wrong. We are going to prep for open wing. I just borrowed your blanket. But we're going to prep for open wing. And so here we're allowing the left arm to open out to T. So I'm going to show it as well. Once we come down to the floor, you might have a pillow or blanket to support you. I'm going to keep my head lifted, but just know you're going to want to allow your head to rest. So once that left arm reaches out to T, you're going to roll into the shoulder. I can put it down a little bit. As that left arm reaches out, I'm showing it from this direction because sometimes it gets confusing, and I want you to know that you're not going to be able to see that hand, right? You're not going to see this back arm. It's reaching like towards 3 o'clock. You can bend your knees high into the chest. Legs lengthen. You might create a kickstand with this right knee. Okay, and so whether that foot stays behind you or steps in front of you, just do what's best for your hips. All right, so you might start to play with that first, and then we'll talk about some other posture suggestions. Allowing your left arm to reach out to T. Again, pillow or blanket might support your head. If not, the floor is fine. Find the best variation for your legs to start with, and you can always change the threshold of the stretch throughout your time as you're getting that feedback. Opposite arm, if stays in front of you, you might bind behind the back, whatever feels good. And with that arm reaching out to T, do know that the palm sometimes will face down or up. It just depends on your natural rotation, bone structure. So don't fight the elbow, don't fight the shoulder. Do what's best for you. as we close our eyes or soften the gaze, we'll begin to settle in. Take a cleansing breath, begin to soften, and we soften all the way from the crown of the head to the toes. Depending on your body, you might feel this stretch in the forearm, the upper arm, front of the shoulder, back of the shoulder, sometimes the chest. And depending on how you're keeping your legs in open wing, you might feel also some sensations through the middle back, lower back, hips. And so there's no one target area. The fascial tissue is connected in one piece from head to toe. And so if you're able to soften and breathe, you stay in the position. If it becomes pain, or as you're listening closely and you have a feeling that this is not the best stretch, then we want to listen, take accountability, and please adjust. Let's be in open wing for a couple more breaths. And you can choose to use this time however you'd like. The arm in open wing, keep it still, but if your opposite arm is binding behind the back, we'll want to slowly unravel that. You'll bring it in front of you. As you guide the legs one on top of the other, you just start to lengthen them out, similar to reclined mermaid. You'll just straighten the legs. And that creates space for you to roll out of the shoulder and then onto the belly. You might choose to bend the knees, kick up the feet to windshield wiper the legs. You might choose to have your arms kind of snuggled underneath you or reaching out. But find that moment, settle into rebound. You might feel a breath of fresh air. as we continue to help bring realignment to the body physically and energetically and mentally and emotionally. And if you'd like to stay in rebound a little longer, please do so. Or take whatever movements or readjust any props, because then we're going to come into open wing on the right side, or whatever side you didn't do yet. So opposite arm reaches out into T, and again, we can think of it like 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, a horizontal line, whatever. Opposite palm is going to press into the floor, and you're rolling into that shoulder, onto that side hip. Right? Again, head is resting on the floor or some sort of prop. And if your shoulder bone or hip bone or ankle bone, if something needs a little extra cushion, without hesitation, grab the prop. And then we'll start playing around with the legs, right? What is the best stretch for right now? Keeping the legs together in the kickstand, maybe just both straight out long. Opposite arm resting in front of you on that top hip or binding. And so I'll begin to start our timer. You can take a breath and settle in when you're ready. At any point, changing variation or remaining where you are. Referring back to that quote, to that poem, right? Using your mind for truth. We can apply that here, right? Sometimes we might want to rush into a deeper variation because it looks cool, but what does your body really need right now? So when we guide ourselves to that edge, that place between comfort and discomfort, we measure that threshold based on the physical sensations we feel, maybe based on how our mind is today. Does it feel foggy or flustered? Maybe calm and centered? And even our heart space has its own edge threshold. Sometimes the stretches and the stillness and even my own voice push, into those buttons a little bit. So we remind ourselves to soften. We remind ourselves to breathe. Couple more breaths, though, in open wing. Using this time however you'd like. And so that arm that's out to T, keep it still for another moment. If your opposite arm is binding behind the back or reaching in any way, we're going to slowly bring it in front of us. Right? Extending your legs one on top of the other. Take your time. Help yourself roll out of the shoulder and onto the belly slowly. Where you might feel the desire for counter movement. Maybe you allow yourself to extend the spine. We lift through the chest. We find child's pose. We might roll onto our back. Or maybe you just stay where you are. You can move and do all of this with your eyes closed. If not, just the gaze is gently open. But we'll settle into rebound when you're ready. Sometimes rebound is referred to as a puddle pose because we feel like a puddle. Just fully connected to earth, present of our breath. The ability to be connected, but also to expand, right? Even if you think about a puddle and how it might reach in different directions. And so taking any other movements, time, and stillness, and just follow the energetic body or your own guidance or your own voice, no right or wrong. And then when you're ready, we'll bring ourselves up to sit. No rush, we still will move slowly and gradually to do that. But what we did in our sequence is we started in reclined mermaid, which was a side laying posture. Right? Then we were on our back for dove, we twisted, we came back to that side lining posture in open wing, right? Slightly different, but similar. And so now we're going to forward fold. You're going to have options, though, depending on what you feel is best for you. So option one is finding dragonfly, which your legs are going to come into a V shape. And so you might take your blocks, your bolsters, your blankets and things, and you can stack some stuff up as high as you'd like to. Whether you choose to stay a little bit more upright, though, or you do choose to fold, you might fold as much or as little as you want. And using your hands, right, as that charity perspective, right, support yourself however you need. Just know, in case there's another option, you can always find a block or something else to support that bolster. And you can eventually let go if you want. So maybe though, you choose dragonfly. Okay, if you'd rather come into caterpillar, similar, but now just your legs are together here, your feet will relax. Same idea. You might prop and have that bolster reaching towards you. You might take your block so that your bolster is a little higher as you fold, or even long ways. And so, again, just different ideas, but you might even find something that works best for you. Okay? So find whichever stretch you'd like. Sometimes, too, you might take a little edge of a pillow or blanket to kind of prop your tailbone. This is too high, especially for me, but if that little lift is helpful, you might find that as well. Here you go. And so essentially just use your props like Legos. Coming into dragonfly or caterpillar. If you try one and realize the other one will be better, please just readjust. If your knees end up bending slightly, allow it. Maybe you just roll up a blanket and support both knees or one knee, depending on what's happening. And taking your time, find the adjustments of both props and body. And then only when you're ready, you'll arrive. But the yin and the beginning of this still occurs even while you're setting yourself up for the stretch. Because you're tuning in and you're listening and you're responding. You say, let's try this, then your body gives you feedback. But as you close your eyes or soften the gaze, we'll begin to arrive, settle in. Begin softening into the posture if you haven't already. Sometimes the stretch will stay in the same place the whole time. And sometimes it will travel and it might rise up the body or flow down the body. And sometimes the hamstrings have the space to fold. Maybe a part of your back or even your neck feels like it needs to have some extra support. Maybe the back has the space, but the hamstrings feel tight. And so whatever part of the body talks to you the most is what you'll need to listen to first. And I promise by doing that, you'll receive the benefits and the progress that you're looking for. And so whether you're in dragonfly or caterpillar, just take another breath or two. And when you're ready, you'll slowly begin to walk yourself up and out of the stretch. You might even stay seated for a couple moments, move through the shoulders, help your legs in. No right or wrong. Take these counter movements unless you just want to be seated in more of like a meditation. Sometimes I wrap my arms around my shins and just bring my head down. Sometimes it feels good to even find a twist within that. Right? But just see where your body takes you. No right or wrong, no better or worse, but these will be our final movements before we come into the final rebound, which is Shavasana. So take whatever else is needed, is guided, is looking for, depending on the body. Sometimes you might find yourself doing really random things because as we're cultivating space, now your muscles want to be used and your joints want to be used and engaged with. And so once you feel done with that, we're going to arrive into our final rebound, which will be our Shavasana. And so maybe now you're going to lay on your back. You might lay on your side, whatever's going to be comfortable. You could use a prop underneath your knees or a blanket to cover the body. We might have our own little setups here, and whatever's going to make you be comfortable. Palms can face up or down. They can rest near you or a little bit farther. Right? And even in Shavasana, our stillness does not mean we're stuck. So if you have to ever readjust, please allow it. And so our time in Shavasana can be used to infuse the entire practice within our body, our nervous system, our minds, our hearts. Maybe taking another sweep of consciousness and let the entire body soften just one more time. And as we meditate here, not against ourselves, but with ourselves, we'll exchange these moments of quiet together, remembering to use your voice with kindness, your ears for compassion, your hands for charity, your mind for truth, and your heart for love. very gently, begin to bring your awareness back into the body, back into the space of the room that you're in, and feeling the placement of the hands and the feet, maybe even noticing that gentle tilt of the chin. When you're ready, you might begin to deepen the breath a little bit, noticing that fullness of the inhale and that depth to the exhale. As you're ready to awaken, you'll begin to find these counter movements. Maybe it's a stretch of the arms as you wiggle your fingers and toes. You might roll into the wrist and the ankles, and when you're ready, your knees can bend in. Maybe the feet come flat to windshield wiper the legs. Maybe you hug your knees into the chest and rock a little bit side to side. And taking any movements that will feel good for the body. But then when you're ready, we're going to roll either to the left or the right. And you'll pause for that moment. Bottom arm could be a little pillow for the head. And just feel that breath of fresh air from the tailbone up to the crown of the head. Maybe notice that softening through the soles of the feet to the palms of the hands. And whether you choose to remain like this, or you might gently press down and start to walk the body up to sit, finding any support for the tailbone if you are choosing to sit. But again, no right or wrong. Once you're there, we'll take a moment of reflection, honoring any clarity in the mind or the heart space, feeling that connection to your breath and your body. Maybe reflecting on any of your intentions or our theme for this practice. But with our gratitude, we'll close our space together. Hands can remain in the lap, or they might gather into prayer. And as we feel this unity within the body, the mind, the heart, we'll close with one cleansing breath or the vibrational sound of Om, letting us breathe in. And as we gently bow the chin to the chest, I thank you for sharing our practice together. And when you're ready, you might bow as much or as little as you'd like. Eyes can flutter open, and just take that moment to yourself. You begin coming back to the space. I thank you for joining us today. Remember to rest well after yin, to also drink a lot of water and stay hydrated for your fascia. Thanks for joining.